South Korea proposed holding military talks with the DPRK earlier this month to stop all hostile acts near the military demarcation line. The dialogue offers came as follow-up measures to President Moon Jae-in's Korean Peninsula Peace Initiative. Concerns have been raised over possible DPRK moves on July 27th to mark the 64th anniversary of the armistice agreement that halted the Korean War in 1953.
China has always opposed any unilateral sanctions outside the framework of the UN Security Council. We particularly oppose countries imposing sanctions on Chinese companies and individuals according to the domestic laws. I have to point out that China has always comprehensively and accurately implemented resolutions by the UN Security Council. If any Chinese companies or individuals are suspected of violating the UN resolutions, we will investigate and punish them in accordance with Chinese law. The United States' move will not help to solve the problem or promote the two countries' mutual trust and cooperation on denuclearization.
원료를 그것도 제재에도 이제 무슨 이렇게 크게 흔들림 없이 생산할 수 있는 기지를 1960년대 벌써 우리 수로님께서 세우셨다고 그게. 그래서 지금 파철이 국가적으로 없다. 뭐 이것저것 없다 그러지만은 영향도 받고 있다 하지만은 우리 제약에서는 미국 놈들이 제재 책동이 있다 하더라도 크게 영향이 없이 그 생산에서 영향받지 않고 이렇게 나가고 있지.
Beijing has some strong words for Washington. Stop dangerous and irresponsible surveillance. China's Foreign Ministry says frequent surveillance is not good for mutual trust. Chinese warplanes intercepted a U.S. Navy surveillance plane over the East China Sea this week.
China has been safeguarding the order and safety of flight over international waters in accordance with related international law and regulations. For a long time, U.S. military aircraft have frequently approached coastal area of China, which threatens the maritime safety of China. We urge the U.S. to immediately stop surveillance to prevent this from happening again.
The Defense Ministry says China closely monitors any U.S. military activity along its coastline and that China's actions were legal, necessary, and professional. Although confrontation remains, cooperation is still the theme of China-U.S. relations. The governor of the U.S. state of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, is leading a trade mission to China. Chinese Vice Premier Wang Yang met with her in Beijing on Tuesday. Wang conveyed President Xi's greetings to the delegation and the people of Iowa. Both sides discussed cooperation in trade and agricultural sectors. The governor and her team will also travel to Shanghai and Xi'an. The visit follows the first China-U.S. Comprehensive Economic Dialogue this month. The meeting set the course for future bilateral economic cooperation.
Yeah, there are more jitters coming from the Korean Peninsula. A growing number of sources are indicating that there could be more trouble coming from North Korea very soon. U.S. officials telling Fox News that recent movement of gear at a launch site which has been used in the past for tests indicate there could be a launch tomorrow, North Korean time, that's tonight Eastern time, possibly of an intercontinental ballistic missile. It would be marking the 64th anniversary of the armistice between North and South Korea at the end of the Korean War. Now, there is also new information that indicates what could be tested by the regime of Kim Jong-un would be a re-entry vehicle for a nuclear warhead. That would be another important step to build up a dangerous arsenal there. Remember, it was earlier this month that U.S. officials believed that for the first time an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM, was tested by North Korea. This, as it is looking like Pyongyang could be very close to actually having a nuclear-tipped missile that could hit mainland United States. We heard from Gordon Chang. He's a leading expert on North Korean matters. He told us this could happen next year. Also, the Washington Post today quoting the Defense Intelligence Agency of the Pentagon saying exactly the same thing. Now, Shannon, more sanctions are being discussed, which we put against North Korea, also secondary firms in China. But indications coming from the Trump administration, from the Pentagon, is that the time for diplomacy, well, it's running out.
All right. Greg Palcott, Force Live in London. Thank you.
Ambassador, how should we be responding to such threat?
Well, I think our options are very limited after, in my view, 25 years of pursuing the wrong policy with North Korea, of trying diplomacy and sanctions to affect their behavior. It was never going to work. It didn't work through 3 successive administrations. It won't work if we try it in year 26. I think you're down now to one diplomatic option, and that is to convince China that it's ultimately in their interest to reunite the 2 Koreas. The way you eliminate the North Korean nuclear program is to eliminate North Korea. It's a hard argument to make, but I think it's doable. If we fail, we are now, because of the progress they've made, not entirely to the surprise of at least some people, that you have to ask, what will a president do when he sees an ICBM on a North Korean launch pad judged capable of reaching the United States when we don't know what's under the nose cone?
Wow.
Are you going to let it take off and hope it hits somewhere else? I mean, that is the real concern, and it's coming very soon.
I mean, but that's what's so difficult about this is, you know, it sounds like what you're saying is we have to really explore the military option, which could leave millions of North Koreans dead because their leader doesn't care about them.
Well, he doesn't care.
And
South Koreans
he's prepared. I mean, that's what they've been. That's part of their biggest propaganda push is the West is coming. They want to kill us, and they're prepared to have millions of their citizens die. I don't know that we've faced an enemy like that.
Well, that's why they're irrational in our terms, and anybody who is prepared to do that is somebody also capable, in a kind of Hitler in the bunker mentality, of attacking us, even if they know North Korea will be turned into a charcoal briquette as a result. Nobody wants to see this happen to South Koreans, but I think the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff put this very well the other day. Conflict on the Korean Peninsula may sound unimaginable, and he wants to do everything to avoid it, but what's really unimaginable to him is North Korea having the ability to kill Americans with nuclear weapons, and that he will work to stop.
Tensions high and getting higher on the Korean Peninsula as the world anticipates another missile test from North Korea. A U.S. defense official tells CNN another launch could happen within a week. This after a successful first test this month of an intercontinental ballistic missile that could reach Alaska. Kim Jong-un's relentless pursuit of the technology is prompting more action from the 2 most powerful countries in the world, the U.S. and China. Start in Washington, where the House of Representatives just passed a bill authorizing new sanctions against North Korea. If it passes the Senate and gets a presidential signature, the law would likely contain a wide array of measures aimed at making it harder for the Kim Jong-un regime to make money and fund its weapons program. Those are unilateral sanctions, but the U.S. is continuing to pursue international measures at the UN. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said she was optimistic about a new draft sanctions resolution in the Security Council and the potential for China's endorsement. Considered the key vote in getting any new UN sanctions passed, China has historically hesitated to enforce overly harsh measures against its provocative ally. Whether they get on board or not, though, the Chinese appear to be reacting to the nuclear tensions another way. 2 different reports published by the military's official newspaper point to the shoring up of defenses in its northern command. That includes the 880-mile-long North Korea border. The reports say a new border defense brigade is now conducting patrols and gathering intelligence, while claiming new 24-hour video surveillance is now set up over the, quote, whole area. Analysts tell CNN both initiatives are likely focused on North Korea. We asked a government spokesman about these reinforcements.
China's military has maintained normal combat readiness and training status along the Chinese-North Korean border.
So apparently for China, more resources deployed on its borders is the new normal. It shows a recognition of a tense reality, further heightened this week after comments from CIA Director Mike Pompeo signaling a desire for regime change in North Korea.
It would be a great thing to denuclearize the peninsula, to get those weapons off of that. But the thing that is most dangerous about it is the character who holds the control over them today.
North Korea responded in its typically bombastic way, saying, quote, "Should the U.S. dare to show even the slightest sign of attempt to remove our supreme leadership, we will strike a merciless blow at the heart of the U.S. with our powerful nuclear hammer." Matt Rivers, CNN, Beijing.
The United States will reportedly place sanctions on 13 officials of Venezuela's government. That would be military and state oil company people. Joining us now is John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Mr. Ambassador, looks to us like they're about to start fighting in the streets seriously this weekend as the socialists attempt to take absolute power. I don't think that sanctions make a blind bit of difference to that fighting in the streets. What's going to happen?
Well, I don't think these sanctions will make any difference. I think this is part of the problem with sanctions that this administration and previous administrations have imposed on a number of different countries. When you only name specific individuals or specific entities, the sanctions like that are very easily evaded. So given the general collapse of government and civil society in Venezuela, I think these will largely be ignored. I think the United States should take a more active role. This Maduro government...
What does that mean, Mr. Ambassador? An active role? What does that mean?
Well, I think we can be in touch with the Venezuelan opposition, which, despite what you see in the pictures, is still very disorganized. I think there may be things we can do to help them. I think it's... and we can do it overtly if they want. We can do it covertly if they want. But the Maduro regime, the inheritor of the Chavez regime, is carrying Venezuela from a promising third world country status right into poverty for all of its citizens. This is the triumph of ideology over reality, and the sooner we bring the government down, the sooner the people of Venezuela bring it down, the better. If we can help, if they think it'd be useful, we should do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm with you, sir. I'm with you. Okay, American intelligence says North Korea, within a year, can perfect a rocket, a missile that will hit the United States. Now that's a shortening of the time frame, very much so, and it's a really big new threat, isn't it?
Yeah, although honestly, some of us have been talking about this for a long time, saying if we don't act more vigorously, not just against North Korea, but against Iran, they will have this capability. If North Korea indeed gets this ability, Iran will have it the next day via wire transfer. We've fooled around, frankly, on these threats for 25 years, both of them, and that's why our circumstances now are so constrained. This is very bad news, make no mistake about it.
But the president is taking a hard line on all of these hot spots around the world. Do you approve of that?
Yes, but his bureaucracy is not. Just again last week, the decision was made to certify that Iran, for example, is in compliance with the 2015 nuclear deal, which it manifestly is not. The idea that we're going to try again to negotiate with North Korea, for example, is a complete non-starter. We've been doing this for 25 years and failed, obviously. Why does anybody think that doing it for year 26 is going to make a difference?
Well, maybe there's some holdovers from the Obama team still within the State Department, still in active policy roles. Is that the reason that this is happening?
That's actually a small part of the problem. You know, the State Department has roughly 70,000 employees. Trying to turn it around is like a big aircraft carrier. What is the State Department doing today? What it did yesterday. What will it do tomorrow? What it's doing today. Until somebody says, do a 180-degree turn. And that's what needs to happen.
Okay. Mr. Ambassador, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, sir.
Hey there. President Trump today spoke with veterans in Ohio before heading to a rally in Youngstown, where he forcefully called for increases in military spending.
You saw our budget. We're ordering billions and billions of dollars of new ships and new planes and equipment for our great soldiers. We are building it up. There's rarely been a time where we needed the protection of our incredible military more than right now, right here, and that's what we're going to do.
And the speech came after a very heated day where North Korea threatened the U.S. with a nuclear attack. And a U.S. Navy ship fired warning shots at an Iranian patrol boat in the Persian Gulf. The tension meter has definitely been turned up to 11. Don't even look at it. Will lawmakers listen to the president's call for more cash? Joining me now, Iraq combat veteran and KFI AM 640 radio host, Brian Suits. So, Suits, what do you make of the threat from North Korea? Last week, CIA Director Mike Pompeo was talking potentially about regime change for the Norks, and they said, should the U.S. dare to show even the slightest sign of attempt to remove our supreme leadership, we will strike a merciless blow at the heart of the U.S. with our powerful nuclear hammer.
They are telegraphing their punches because they know that we will take it. They know that we are unprepared for a conflict on the Korean Peninsula, and they're playing it to the absolute hilt. All right, are they prepared for a conflict on the Korean Peninsula? And if so, how so? That's the scary part. They are. They've been doing it for 60 years. This is like we got a tiger cub 20 years ago, and we thought that it would stay cute, but it kept eating, knowing full well that it will grow up into a tiger cub, and it is now a tiger cub. And they spent 60 years tunneling and building shelters, etc. They would not have done this, and I don't think enough Americans understand this. They would not have done this if they were not prepared to actually use them. These are no longer tests. Yeah. These are drills. Yeah, but the shelters are only going to hold a small percentage of their population. A large percentage of their population are in labor camps. What happens to those people? Are they terminated, or does it become a refugee crisis? That government doesn't care. I mean, honestly, that's what we're dealing with. They are really, truly sitting down, doing the math on how to survive a counterstrike by the United States. This is part of their calculation, and they have been playing strip poker with us, and we've taken our pants off. They are prepared to use 3, 4, 8, 9 nuclear weapons against Japan, South Korea, Okinawa, and my house. And they know that the United States will not retaliate, and we're not prepared in 2017 to combat this country and change the regime there. The downside is just too big. All right, let's talk a little bit about veterans today. The president addressing a big group in Ohio. The president does have his adversaries and his enemies. He calls them out on Twitter every day. Do men and women who wear the uniform still support this president? My sense is that there are a lot more people on the fence than there were. Senior people, career people are getting a lot more leery about him. Younger people still do like him because they like what he says. But when he delivers for the VA, that would be great. If it turns into a voucher program, that would be perfect for like the 9/11 generation and on, everyone who was wounded. You know, in Iraq. If we got vouchers, that would be great, and he would get all of our votes. But we do want to see, just like with Obama, we want to see results. Show me clinics out there in suburban areas, or show me vouchers in the mail where I can go to an actual doctor. All right, well, we'll see what the president